Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight, for those of you who are here. The Talmud tells us a fascinating story. I'm sure you all know about Rabbi Akiva, but the amazing part about the story of Rabbi Akiva is that everything that he gained and the reason why he's such a big scholar was all because of his wife Rachel. And we're told the story about how Rabbi Akiva did not come from a rich family. He wasn't born to the son of a scholar. He was born to a very poor family, and he became a shepherd. He was an ignorant shepherd of a man named Kalba Sabua. Kalba Sabua was one of the richest people at that time, and he had a daughter named Rachel. Rachel was rich, Rachel was smart, and a lot of men were suggested to her, and she kept turning down everybody because she had her eyes on one person. She had her eyes on Akiva. Akiva was the ignorant shepherd, and even though he was ignorant, she saw that he had more in him. And she married him secretly, and when her father found out, he promised that he would cut all connections with her. She wouldn't have anything from him, no money. She was supposed to be his heir, and she had nothing from him. And she agreed because she saw that there was something more in Akiva. She left her riches, and she lived in a small little shack, slept on a bundle of hay. And her and Akiva decided that he would travel far for 12 years and go learn in the yeshiva of Rabbi Eliezer at that time. After 12 years, he returned home as promised, and as he's reaching back to his shabby little shack, he overheard a conversation between his wife and another woman. And the woman told her, "You could have lived in riches. You're so stupid that you waited there the whole time for 12 years. And you know what she said? She said, "If I had the choice, I would let him go back for another 12 years, if that would mean that he would learn more Torah." And he didn't even come tell her hi. He turned back around, just like she said, and he went to learn for another 12 years. After 24 years in total, he had 24,000 students. And as he returned home with all the students, he stopped by every city, and every city had people, old, rich, every kind of person came to stop by and meet him. Suddenly, as he reached his home, he noticed a woman with ripped clothes, and she tried to get to him, and all of his students tried to push her away. And he stopped them, and he brought her close. And everyone was confused. What is he doing? And he stopped and he said, "Sheli v'shelachem shelahu." The Torah that I and you have is all thanks to this woman. If not for this woman, I would have been just an ignorant shepherd, couldn't even read the alphabet. Because of her, you and I have what we have today. And the whole crowd bowed down in respect to her. Tonight we commemorate 31 years since the passing of Rabbi Chaim Mashka Schneerson. In the year 1950, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, her father, passed away, passing on the leadership of the worldwide Chabad Lubavitch movement to Chaim Mashka's husband, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson of righteous memory. The Rebbe initially adamantly refused to accept the position of leadership. It was his wife, the Rebbe Chaim Mashka, that convinced him to take this position. The great personal sacrifice that would entail, he took it. Public and private hardships. It was simply unthinkable to her that all the work that her father did for 30 years would go to nothing if he didn't take this leadership. A modest and wise woman, Rebbe Chaim Mashka carried the mantle of her exalted position in a most humble fashion. She always referred to herself simply as Mrs. Schneerson from President Street. Gentle to everyone, the Rebbetzin saw her role as one wholly devoted to the work of her husband. We hear hundreds of thousands of stories, of miracles, of encounters of the Rebbe. And the thousands of leaders that the Rebbe created, which in turn caused thousands of Chabad houses around the world. And who was behind all of this? Who do we owe our thanks to? Initially, we owe our thanks to Rabbi Chaim Mishka, who we are gathered here for tonight. Chances are all of you sitting here never met her, because she was incredibly modest and private. However, the fact that you're here tonight means that you have been affected by her without even meeting her. The reason is Rabbi Chaim Mishka created all the rest of the Chabad Rebbetzins around the world, who just the same devote their lives in this mission to help and be there to ignite all the Jews around the world. So anyone who has been touched, helped, affected by one of those Rebbetzins around the world was actually directly affected by Rabbi Chaim Mishka. I found it only appropriate to call our Rebbetzin to light her memorial candle, my mother, who devotes her life, her being, her essence to this place, to Georgetown, especially to you women. Ina? If you could all please rise, we're going to say the Tehillah of the Rebbetzin. At this time, this is a great time to ask for anything you need.
הללו את אדוני כל גויים, שבחו כל האומים. כי דבר עלינו חסדו, באמת אדוני לעולם, הללויה.
הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. יאמר נא ישראל כי לעולם חסדו. יאמרו נא בית אהרון כי לעולם חסדו. יאמרו נא יראה אדוני כי לעולם חסדו. מן המיצר קראתיה, ענני במרחביה. אדוני לי לא ארא מה יעשה לי אדם. אדוני לי בעוזרי ואני אראה בשונאי. טוב לחסות באדוני מבוטח באדם. טוב לחסות באדוני מבוטח בנדיבים. כל גויים סבבוני בשם אדוני כי עמילם. סבוני גם סבבוני בשם אדוני כי עמילם. סבוני כדבורים דעכו כאש קוצים בשם אדוני כי עמילם. דחו דחיתני לנפול ואדוני עזרני. עזי וזמריה ויהי לי לישועה. כל רינה וישועה באוהלי צדיקים. ימין אדוני עושה חיל. ימין אדוני רוממה. ימין אדוני עושה חיל. לא אמות כאחיה, ואספר מעשייה. יסור יסרני יה, ולמוות לא נתתני. פתחו לי שערי צדק, אבוא בם הודיה. זה השער לאדוני צדיקים יבואו בו. עודך כי נתני, ותהי לי לישועה. אבן מעשו הבונים הייתה לראש פינה. מאת אדוני הייתה זאת, היא נפלט בעינינו. זה היום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמחה בו. ענה אדוני הושיענה, ענה אדוני הצליחנה. ברוך הבא בשם אדוני, ברכו נחם בבית אדוני, אל אדוני, ויאר לנו איסור חג באבותים עד קרנות המזבח. אלי אתה ועודך, אלוהי ארוממך. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו.
Thank you. Before I introduce our speaker, I just wanted to take 1 minute. One of the one of the most challenging parts of making one of our events is finding speakers, finding entertainment, finding the right person for this crowd, really matching it. And every time we have to do this event again, we have to think all over again, and we're thinking, like, what's the right person who could say the best, give it over the best. And there's one woman in this crowd who always tries to help us with this, and she always has great ideas. And this time, actually, both of the speakers of this evening was her idea. So I just want to say thank you to Mrs. Sheffman. Thank you so much. Always worrying about what we're going to do if everything works out great. So thank you, Ms. Sheffman. Last night, there was a worldwide international conference holding at least 3,000 shlichos from around the world. Each year we try to find the elite of those so that they can share their experiences with us. I want to share something about this next speaker. About 3 years ago, I worked in Atlanta for 6 months by the shluchim, by the shostermans. And I met one woman who is a shlucha in Atlanta, Mrs. Miriam Lipsker. She's actually the co-founder and director of the Chabad Student Center at Emory University. And I experienced something during my time there that never really left me. I just spoke to her before, and she doesn't even remember this, but I didn't tell her exactly what I'm talking about, but she didn't even remember. But I do. While I was there, she had to come to New York, I think, during Hanukkah, and she left her family for 2 days, and she asked my friend and I if we could babysit. And during that time, I witnessed something that I don't know like what exactly it is, but it really stuck in my memory. She's a Chabad on campus. She has students all the time. And all the time, the door was open and students were coming in. And two things were clear to me. Firstly, they came in, and it was like they weren't stepping in someone else's house. It was like it was their own home. They really felt like it was their own home. And secondly, her children, the way they reacted to them, it wasn't like, oh, who are you? It was like, oh, come sit down. Do you need this? Do you need? I remember they gave the students soup. They were there. They were talking and they were listening. It was like, to them, it was a sister or a brother that came to their house. That was their house as well. And that student was an extension of actually her own family. She has 8 kids of her own, but these students were her kids. They were her family, and she raised her kids to know that these people that are coming to their house are not strangers. They're your family. They're your sisters and brothers. And that was just really amazing to me. But what's more amazing is that, a lot of times people, actually someone asked me last week, but a lot of times people ask me, like, Sterling, when you get married, are you also going to be on shlichus? And I think so. I hope so. I want to. But if I do, and should I, it's not a shock. It's not like oh wow, she went on shlichus. She grew up on shlichus. Her parents raised her that way. This is what she was born with her whole life. It's almost a given. But this next speaker, it wasn't a given. She wasn't raised the way I was raised, and I'm not going to say everything, but I will let her say the story. Mrs. Miriam Lipsker.
Okay. So, thank you. I wasn't actually going to say any of that story, but now I have to, because you made it sound so interesting. To me, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to have to start from where you left off, because I think, first of all, welcome to everybody here. It's beautiful that you came out on a very cold, I know for New York this is maybe very average, but it feels a little cold to me now that I've been in Atlanta for 18 years, to celebrate, first of all, one another as beautiful Jewish women in a beautiful community, in a beautifully decorated temporary location that I'm giving you a blessing you will expend out of. I'm talking from experience. We're also currently in a tent, so and to celebrate the life, the memory, and the legacy of Rebbetzin Chaim Mashka. But I think that very often when people see a Chabad Shlucha or Rebbetzin, they just think she grew on the Rebbetzin tree, wherever that is, or whatever kind of fruits grow on those trees. But the real truth is that both of my parents grew up, and again, I wasn't going to share any of this. It was totally not in my prepared official remarks. But both of my parents grew up in very, very secular American homes. When I say very, very, what I mean by that is most Jews in America have some label that they associate with their, I'm a this kind of Jew, I'm a Reform Jew, I'm a conservative, I'm a once-a-year Jew, I'm a Yom Kippur Jew. Their label, if you have to give them a label, was like, leave us alone, Jews. And the interesting thing that I didn't think was interesting, but I only more recently realized is unusual, and for a lot of the people maybe from Israeli origin, you couldn't care less about this, but most Jews living in America today are here 1, 2, or 3 generations. So who moved here from where? My grandmother, my mother, my grandmother, or my great-grandmother is usually the answer, and then you can ask from where, if it wasn't you yourself, first generation. And I didn't realize that it was unusual to be an American Jew who had great-great-great-grandparents in America, so like they came over with Columbus, and my great-great-grandfather fought in the Spanish-American War on the American side in the 1890s. Like they were here for a really, really long time, which means what? That they had a long time to assimilate and live the American dream and make a lot of money and be successful, but not practice anything or live Yiddishkeit or Judaism in any way. Not a bar mitzvah, not a seder, not a Rosh Hashanah, none of that. And so what's really remarkable is that both of my parents, when they were in college, my mother actually went to Cooper Union, which is in Manhattan, so not so far away from here. She's an artist, and my father is a builder, construction, whatever. He went to University of Maryland. But when they were both college students, they started to ask really basic questions, like, what does it mean that I'm Jewish? What should I do about it? What shouldn't I do about it? Or does it matter in any way? Simple questions that when you're 18, you probably start to think about yourself, your identity. And the beautiful thing is that because of the Rebbitzin, which Sterny just shared, the Rebbe sent out anyone who would listen really to go and be a home anywhere on planet Earth where you're comfortable living and welcome other Jews in and answer their questions, welcome them into the family, celebrate Shabbos, it didn't matter what. And my parents were both blessed to meet Chabad Shluchim in the 60s and the 70s who were family to them in terms of welcoming them and teaching them and showing them what Yiddishkeit is. And so my parents were the ones who made a decision that even though they were raised completely secular, zero Jewish activity, nothing. They decided they wanted to raise us, myself and my siblings, with a full back to the shtetl, cheder, the hook, line, and sinker. They didn't understand Yiddish that we learned in school. They couldn't help us with our homework, whether it was in Hebrew or Yiddish or even the concepts in English necessarily, but they decided they wanted to do that. And the short of that is that, thank God today, I actually have 4 of my siblings run Chabad on campuses, obviously myself included, and I shared that because Sterny made me. Okay, so that was the intro that I wasn't going to give, and now I'll give you the intro that I was going to give, which is I grew up in New Jersey, right? So when my husband and I were engaged, we got the very typical question, which is, where are you guys moving, and where are you going to live, and what are you going to do, right? Typical. So we told whoever asked us that we are going to be moving to Atlanta, Georgia, to open a Chabad at Emory University. And we got the same response over and over again. You're moving to the South? You're moving to the Bible Belt? You're the only one laughing because you're from the South, right?
That's funny.
Okay. Everybody said the same thing. You're moving down south to the Bible Belt. Now today, if someone tells you a phrase and you don't know what it means, you just say, Siri, what's the Bible Belt? Or Alexa, what's the Bible Belt? Or Google, what's the Bible Belt? What could be? It's so easy. A few taps and you get a few sentences. At least you're not totally ignorant, right? I'm thinking a Bible and a belt and a what? Anyway, back then, this is the year 2000, we just moved down and we figured we'll figure it out, right? So we show up, and sure enough, it didn't take very long. We had knocks on the door from very friendly, warm, this is the South, so if it doesn't sound familiar to you, I understand. Neighbors inviting us to study groups and Bible study classes and giving us pamphlets and books, and I kept telling my husband, maybe our mezuzah isn't big enough, or maybe our Chabad house sign isn't big enough, because they don't realize we're not their target audience, right? Like, his beard's not big. I mean, what? Anyway, so this actually doesn't go on so much today, but it did back when we first moved there. And one morning, our home is our Chabad house. We live there. It's, just our home, but the front door opens to the second floor. So if I'm upstairs, I could hear and see whatever's going on at the front door, which is a really great architectural feature for our lifestyle. And one morning, I'm upstairs, it was a Sunday, my son Mendel, who is maybe 8 or 9 at the time, answers the door, and it's two very nice gentlemen, they have books in their hands, you know. How are you? Are your parents home? Is there a CVS? It's 2 doors down. Okay, what can I do for you? Nothing, we just want to leave you with some books. So Mendel says, thank you very much, but we have a lot of books in our house. So we don't need the books, thank you. Okay, so the gentleman's like, well, these books are free. So Mendel says, well, all the books in the house are free for me. I didn't buy any of them, so we don't need any more free books either. Thank you so much. And the guy's like, well, these books are very special. So I'm thinking I should come downstairs, right, you know? But this is all 20 seconds of a conversation. And Mendel says, well, what is so special about the books? So the fellow says, well, these books will tell you how to get to heaven. So I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So Mendel says, really? Because a minute ago you asked me how to get to CVS. And it's 2 doors away from my house. And you didn't know how to get there, but you know how to get to heaven? So the door closes, and I thought, okay, Mendel handled that really well. Except Mendel was really not happy with this conversation. He found my husband, he found me, and he was like, okay. He sat us down. He's like, what did they mean when they said that they have a book that tells you how to go to heaven? Is it a map? Is it a place? Is it like a destination? What did they mean? He was very curious. He's that type of, what do they mean that they say they have a book that tells you how to go to heaven? So I think it's a really great blessing to raise our family on a college campus because we get to have the most fascinating, interesting conversations about the craziest, most far out wild things with our kids because they hear so many things that we're able to talk about at home. Not that they find out in the street, they're able to say, Mom, Dad, what's this? What did I hear? So what did we explain to Mendel? It wasn't a one-time conversation, by the way, ongoing, that Hashem created a very big world full of all kinds of people from different places and different cultures and different ethnicities and religions and faith and all different people. And there's people that are here, but they kind of trying to get somewhere else, too chaotic, too much materialism and craziness. They want to leave, escape, go on a mountaintop, meditate, leave all the mishagas behind. But then there's people on the other end of the spectrum that are eat, drink, be merry for tomorrow, who knows what's going to, just enjoy the here and now because who knows what's going to be, so just enjoy. So what we told Mendel is on either extreme, I'm here and I'm a physical person, so I'm just going to enjoy it, or I'm here, but I'm really trying to escape to something more spiritual. Neither approach, and obviously there's thousands of approaches in between, but neither extreme is a Jewish approach. What is Judaism? What is Yiddishkeit? What does Hasidus teach us? That we are physical beings, and we are on planet Earth, and we are here. We're not trying to get to heaven. But we do want to bring heaven down to earth. We do want to, the words Kabbalah uses, sounds very romantic, but it says we want to make heaven and earth meet and kiss. What? How do you do that? What does that mean really in real life? So many religions acknowledge that human beings are multidimensional. I have my intellectual and my physical, my material, my emotional, in all these realms. And spiritually, many people want to connect, so they'll go to a location, a shul, a center on a certain time or day or holiday, and they'll do something religious or spiritual. Yiddishkeit, Judaism, no. Don't go and do something Jewish. Don't go someplace where you could express your Judaism. Every part of your being, how you eat, how you sleep, how you talk, how you walk, how you play, how you work, how you interact, that should all be done bringing heaven down to earth, in a spirit, bringing the spiritual into the physical. Not, I'm a physical being and once in a while I'll go do something spiritual. No. Everything we do, every time we interact, every behavior, how can I find a way to do that a little bit more meaningful, holy, godly, elevated, thoughtful, focused, present, pick whatever word works for you. I wish I had some Hebrew words to throw there so you could actually take it home. I don't know what the problem. Any one of my activities I do during day, I do it more Jewishly. Then we have to find out, well, how do I do this or that Jewishly? There's nothing from tying our shoelace to washing our hands that there's not a Jewish way to do it, which is a gift that we don't even realize we have from thousands of years, that we live as a human being and everything we do interact socially and we can do it in a Jewish way. Okay, so tonight, we explained that to Mendel, by the way, but we actually try to live it, and it's not always easy, but tonight we're celebrating 31 we're honoring the Rebbitzin, and it's very, very easy when you have someone who is regal. She's a daughter of generations of holy spiritual giants, Kabbalistic masters, mystics, rebbes, again, whichever word works for you. And she was a woman of grace and refinement and integrity and wisdom. So is it so hard to learn from somebody like that? Not really, because they epitomize, an example of a role model. So I want to share for a moment a story about a queen who isn't like Rebbitzin Chaya Mushka in that her every part of her life is a role model, but I think we could learn a lesson from. So she's very famous, this queen. She actually lived a long time ago. Her name was Queen Victoria. She was the Queen of England. You may have heard about her or seen, the latest Netflix specials about all the royal. Anyway, the Queen of England was married to a fellow by the name of Prince Albert. He came from Hanover, Germany. And as you probably know, back in the day, they used to make shidduchim based on, the countries' alliances. So it wasn't a matter if you liked each other or not. It was a matter if the countries wanted to, do exchanges or trade or whatever it was. But this happened to work out nicely because they liked each other and they got along. Very rare, very nice. Okay, why am I telling you the story? Queen Victoria and her husband, Prince Albert, go on a tour, a 1-week visit to his hometown. Okay, so they're visiting whatever the local spots and the big places to see. And everything's going according to plan. Of course, she's the Queen of England, so she has a huge entourage with her. And they do all the stops and the photo ops and the visits and the official business. And they're almost at the end of the trip. All of a sudden, a crisis. Calamity strikes. What happens? I didn't mention, but the Queen was expecting their first child. She was 7 months pregnant, which means she had a few months to go. And this is just a week trip, so they thought it was all good. But she goes into labor early, very early. So everyone who's part of the entourage is like going crazy. They're pulling their hair out of their head. What are we going to do? The Queen is in Germany. She's the Queen of England. Now, in the official rule book of the monarchy, it's listed very clearly, if you're not born in the country, you cannot rule the country. So here you have the Queen of England about to give birth to her first child. It doesn't really matter if it's a boy or a girl, 50-50 chance, but its eligibility to the throne of England is in question if it's not born in England. But she's in Germany, and it's a little late because she's in labor. So everyone's like, oh my gosh, huge crisis for the royal empire. Wow. One of the members of the Queen's entourage was a famous Jew. His name was Sir Moses Montefiore. He was the head of the accounting team. Not a shock. You may have heard of him because Moses Montefiore, actually the Montefiore cemetery is from that family. Very famous. And he heard the commotion. The Queen went into labor. What are we going to do? But he figured, Mazel tov, you should have thought of that before you made the plan. She's in labor. She's going to have the baby. You'll figure it out later, right? What's he going to do? He figured, I'm going to go to daven mincha because what could I do, right? So he goes into the shul in Hanover, Germany. Nice little shul. The rabbi, whose name was Nathan Adler, sees this very famous Jew, right? Head of the Queen Victoria's accounting team, big philanthropist. I don't know how back in the day they had celebs without social media. I don't know how people recognized each other's face. I don't know. Weiß nicht, as they say in French, but what are you doing here? So Sir Moses Montefiore says, I'm here with the Queen's entourage. She came for a 1-week visit, and he tells him the calamity. You won't believe it. The Queen went into labor a few months early. Everyone's going crazy. It's in Germany. He's not going to be able to be the king or queen. So Nathan Adler says, are you kidding? It's such a simple solution. So Moses says, no, right? Tell me the solution. He says, what do you mean? Right here on the port is a famous British battleship called the Royal Ark. And everyone knows that a battleship is ground zero. It's home territory. It might as well be the Buckingham Palace. Bring the Queen, make a nice little maternity ward, very quick. Bring the Queen to the battleship. Just to be safe, pull the battleship into international waters, a few kilometers, so no one can make any claims it was on port. They're in the water. And a nice, beautiful baby boy happened to be born on a Royal British battleship called the Royal Ark. I read it in a PS of some history book. His name was Edward. He became the King of England, King Edward the 5th or 6th. I don't know the Roman numeral. I mixed it up. Whatever. Never an issue about his identity, where he was born. No crisis averted. No problemo, right? It was good. So the Queen was really grateful. She was really appreciative that she got this little advice, right? Because obviously Moses Montefiore ran back. He gave over this idea from this German rabbi, and sure enough, that's what happened. So why am I sharing this story with you? Like, for real. Come on. So two things. One's just interesting, and that is that the Queen was very grateful. So she instituted for the very first time in British history the position Chief Rabbi of Great Britain. Never existed. Who did she give the honor to? Obviously, this rabbi who gave the advice, Nathan Adler. They say 40 years he served in that role, till 1890 when he passed away. Until today, you're probably all familiar with the Chief Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, right? Very, very famous. So that position allegedly came into being from this story, but that's not why I'm telling you the story. Although I thought it was interesting. But that's not what I'm telling you. The reason why I'm telling you this story is because think about it for 1 second. The Queen of England's a queen, but she's just a human being also, right? So that means she's going to have problems, health issues, financial stress, emotional, mental, I don't know, whatever issues queens have, but she's still a person. What's her advantage that she has over us? She has at her disposal experts in every field that any person would ever have an issue in. She has access to the best to give her a hand, to help her, to give her advice, to help her in a situation. So what did the Queen of England do when she had a crisis of identity? Who is this child going to be? I want you to know, by the way, it's not just the Queen of England. You ever heard, where's Obama's birth certificate? Right? No, that didn't go on in New York? Right? Like, come on, you can't be the president if you weren't born here, so where were you born? Show us your birth certificate. It still has some sort of relevance. But the Queen had a crisis. She's in the wrong country, she's giving birth, and his identity, his essence is going to be in question if he's able to serve, if he's fit. Where did she get the advice from? From a Jew, from a rabbi. What's so remarkable about that is that all of us in this room, no matter where we come from, we're all experts at maintaining our identity while on foreign soil for our entire existence. Almost all of our story, we're not on home territory. We're not at ground zero. Many of you I know are from Israel, so you could say maybe that's a little bit different for some people here, but the majority of the Jewish people are from the majority of our history, live all over the place, from everywhere, from all corners of the globe. How could it be that in 2019, thousands of years after we became from a little family to a little people, we're still here? Because we have an identity that for thousands of years people tried to bolt out and destroy and get rid of and annihilate. And wherever we're from, right? It wasn't a happy, pretty story. How could it be that we're such experts that you could still identify us today? You could still gather us in a group. We could still celebrate. Okay, different flavors for the different recipes for the matzah balls, for the, we have different customs, different things we call in different ways. But the essence at our core, in our souls, in our morals, in our values, we're those same people. Our entire history, we've been experts somehow of doing this. And you know what one of the secrets are? It's the power of the Jewish woman. We transmit that essence to the next generation. If we only know Aleph, in my grandmother's case, I don't even know if she knew Aleph, you pass whatever it is to the next generation. If you know Aleph, you'll learn Beis. But the concept is that how do we maintain our identity? Because it comes from inside. It's neshama, inside out. But more importantly, it's something that every single one of us in our own way has been doing for our family's entire history. Even by my family's example where, people dropped the ball for some time, but someone always came and picked it back up. And if I tell you, my great-grandfather, when he came to visit us, and he threw his tefillin off the boat at the Statue of Liberty by Ellis Island into the Hudson River. I'm done with this. And then to come and see his great-grandchildren with payas and tzitzis and yarmulkes and saying brachas, and he had nachas, but he didn't know why. Like, I thought I left that in the shtetl. You're living in New Jersey, and you can do anything and be anything, and you have privilege and opportunity, and you're making brachas on an apple? We didn't teach you that. Where'd you get that from? Where'd you hear about this? It's mind-blowing, but it's such a gift because that's who we are. Just sometimes, we get distracted. So, for example, there's a village at the bottom of the Himalayan mountains. Okay, right? Tallest mountainscape in the world, I believe, if not one of the tallest. And the villagers are all very rugged people. They work really hard. They're athletic. They're extremely fit. And they always, no matter what it is they do, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, whatever they do, they always have annual competitions to scale the peaks on the mountain. But obviously it's extremely difficult because it's high, because the air gets thinner and you can't really breathe soil, you need equipment, you need training. So every time there's a competition, someone gets a little higher, and then he trains a little stronger, and he gets better equipment, and he's able to go even higher, even higher. Decades of working, and they're moving up, they're making progress. Finally, one day, decades later, a group of 3 guys who've been working at this since they're young get to the top. They get to the peak. They get up there. They can't believe their accomplishment. Decades of work, decades of, investment. They get up there. They're euphoric. They're overcome with, this great achievement. And what do they see? A young kid, 3-year-old child, running around. And they pull the kid over. They say, come here. How'd you get up here? How's it possible? It's not possible. How'd you get up here? So the kid says, what do you mean, how did I get up here? How'd you get up here? They're like, what do you mean, how we got up here? Should we tell you? The time, the money, the effort, the skill. So the boy says, what do you mean? I don't understand your question. I was born here. I was born up here. There's no question. Very often we don't understand what gift we have. I didn't understand what gift I had when I rocked up at 21 years old on a college campus. It was a little intimidating because Emory's, they say it's the Harvard of the South. It's $250,000 to get in. Only 1 out of 500 people are accepted. Very sophisticated, very privileged people. What do I know? What do I have to say? I'm 21 years old. I didn't realize that one of the biggest problems we have in our society today is that, and this is not me saying this, the New York Times published a study a few months ago, over 70% of college students today are on medication for depression, stress, anxiety, severe, not like I'm having a rough day, I'm not in the mood, no, like, how could it be? You have all the privilege that your ancestors never could have dreamed of. You have education at your disposal. You have, what's wrong that you're not feeling content and happy? And what did I realize? It took me a while. If you know who you are, and you know where you come from, and you know that you're a piece of God, and you're walking around to represent that and to be a light around the world, you're going to have a stressful day. Things are going to go wrong. But at your core, you have a deep understanding of your purpose and value. And you can't trade that in for anything in the world. But very often we don't see that. So I don't have that much time because I know there's a whole program ahead, but I want to share something practical, right? Because sometimes you hear an idea and it sounds nice, but how does it practically work? What's the idea? Everyone here is aware of it. That all of us, our bodies look different, they feel different, they do different things in different ways. But also we're primarily a soul, a neshama. But we have to work together. Body and soul has to work together. My neshama is what I have in common with everyone because it's all a chelek elokah mimal mamash. It's a part of God. So my part of God and your part of God, same part of God. One piece, one connection. Our bodies, how we think, how we feel, how we look, how we dress, how we talk, that's different. So that separates us. So then we judge each other. Look at you have a run in your tights, you have spinach in your teeth, you look like you didn't shower, I don't like the way you talk, I don't like the way you... We judge, right? They always say, don't judge a book by its cover, because we do. But what are we judging? The externals, the physical, the earthly, the material. The spiritual, the neshama inside each and every one of us, that's the same. It doesn't look different, doesn't feel different. It wants the same thing, which is what? Connect to God, share godliness, express godliness. All the things that matter in the world. Relationships, emotions, love, peace, understanding, those aren't physical, but they're no less real. They actually are more impactful in our lives. So that's the idea. Everybody knows this concept that, if you judge people from the outside, it's going to separate you. But if you judge them from the inside, from the neshama, and you see what you have in common, it's a different story. So it's a theory. But in real life, how easy is it to judge people that they're a neshama? They're annoying you. They're irritating you. They hurt your feelings. They're insulting you. You're a neshama. So we have everything in common. We're both parts of God, so it's all good. I mean, how practical is it? Really, what you said or what you did or what you wasn't, how does it work? So the Rebbe, anybody who would listen, you didn't have to be a chassid with a beard and a hat, and you didn't have to be a rebbitzin with whatever that comes with. In my case, I didn't mention, my husband and I moved to campus. I was younger
than the seniors. I could just legally drink. I was 21. They didn't know I was younger than them. And now, thank God, we have a staff of 8, which incidentally I gave birth to, so that was a good plus. But I didn't realize, and I keep saying I didn't realize, but we all grow and learn, that the greatest gift we have to share is that we can take ideas that the Rebbe taught, like this simple idea that we're neshamas are all equal and what divides us is the physical. So we all have heaven inside of us, but we all have earth that divides us. And we could actually, you don't need to be a chassid or a shliach or a rabbi or a rebbitzin. You just need to have a neshama, which everybody in this room has, to go out in the world and try to practice living this way. What does it mean? Again, practically. How is this actually real, not just an imaginary concept? So I wanted to share with you one example of how this concept, this idea, really works in real life. But I do need to give a disclaimer, because I don't want you to think that every day of my life I wake up on the right side of the bed and I view every person I come in contact with a holy neshama, a positive contribution to the world, a gem, a diamond, wow, that I get to interact with you. No, I have my days. I try to make every day be a day that I see that way, and myself that way, and my children that way, and everyone. But we're humans. We're not stones, and we're not angels. So we have days like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. But we know at least what we're trying for. So here's an example. And again, my disclaimer was I don't want you to think every day I wake up on the right side of the bed. I woke up on the right side of the bed one morning. What happened the night before? Nothing. I sent out an email that said, come do the challah twist. I think that's what I wrote. I printed it out so I could get it right. It wasn't very creative. It had literally 3 words, tonight, and I wrote the time. So to give you a drop of background, there are, I don't know if you're familiar with sororities. If not, consider yourself blessed. If yes, it's official cliques that you pay to get into. You have to perform and judge, and they vote you in, and then you pay, and then you walk around with the letters of your clique around in public, so everyone knows who you're part of. Okay. For some reason, the Jews love to belong to, like, all of these fraternities and sororities full of Jewish kids from New York. They love to belong to all these groups. So it's called challah on the row, and I do challah baking in every one of sorority houses on the row. Which means not all of them are all Jewish, obviously. By the way, the ones that are most non-Jewish have the most Jews in them. I don't know how they are. Okay? But I do challah, and it's fine. The Oriental girls like baking challah, and the African-American girls bake challah, and all the Jews bake challah, even the ones that are gluten-free, even the ones that don't look at carbs. I'm like, you could have sesame seeds. If you don't do seeds, you could have poppy. If you just want to inhale, you could. If you want to watch other people eat it and get fat, whatever works for you, just, everyone's fine making challah. Okay. But once in a while, at the end of the semester, I do a challah bake at the Chabad house. So if you missed or you're not part of all the clubs, you can come. I send the email out, and usually I get no response, which means nothing, because either way, someone's coming. I just don't know if it's 30, if it's 20. I don't know. They like to keep us guessing. But I don't hear back, and then whoever comes, and I either over-prepared and they each make 3 challahs, or I under-prepared and they each make a teeny tiny donut hole. Okay. So I send my kids off to school, which sounds like a bus came and got them, but that was 3 hours of carpool later. I come home and I check my email. And I told you I woke up on the right side of the bed, right? So everything's positive, everything's good, everyone's a neshama, everyone's contributing to the world in a positive way. The way the Rebbe wants us to view of other people. Neshama. Okay, so I get this email, and because we're in a holy Chabad house, I'm going to beep out the unsavory words, and also I'm going to say that the girl was from New York, so she had a little edge. I don't know if that means anything to anyone here. You just take it with a grain of salt, a little prickly. Sabras, I don't know if that works either. But this was the response. Okay, so it says, I am not part of blank, blank, Emory Chabad. Your organization is disgusting, and you are all pathetic. Take me off of your mother, blank, 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 blank mailing list. You are racist, offensive, heathen, blank, blank, blank. You have a nice day, Michelle. So I'm like, wow. I didn't say come to my son's circumcision, come to Brit Milah, which could be offensive. I didn't say come to Yom Kippur where you're going to pray and fast for 25 hours, no food, no. It's challah. Who gets so offended and upset and up in arms about challah? I mean, it's not such an offensive activity. But I'm seeing positive, right? So I figure, obviously, I'm going to take Michelle off the mailing list because she wants to be taken off. But I figure it's not going to hurt if I write line. It's not going to cost me anything. So I write, Dear Michelle, I admire your deep passion, which clearly comes through in your email. I will respect your wishes and remove you from the mailing list, the very, very bad mailing list. Then I was like, I'll add another sentence, because, right, why not? So I write, having never met me, you make some broad and sweeping statements. As for me, I think you're probably a great person just having a really rough day. Wishing you inner peace and happiness. Always Miriam Lipsker. But then I'm like, what's it going to hurt a PS, right? So I wrote, PS. If you ever want to have coffee with a racist, offensive, heathen, and I made a bunch of, emojis, squigglies, hashtags, give me a call. And I left her my cell number, and I deleted her from the mailing list. Just want you to know, we respect your wishes. Okay, so that was on the 15th. And on the 17th, I received an email. This is the email. Dear Miriam, I read your email the day I received it, and I apologize for the delay in my response. Could you see such manners? She almost sounds like she's from the South, not from New York. Okay. I am indeed passionate, blunt, kind-hearted, and as you knew it, having a very rough day. I laughed and smiled in the morning when I read your response. Thank you. I think I may like to take you up on your offer and meet with you. Smiles, Michelle. So now you guys are waiting for me to tell you Michelle lives in Mea Shearim with 15 children. No, I don't know. I do know. I Facebook stalked her. I know exactly where she is. But I didn't meet her yet because we made up to meet and then I got a call. Your daughter Luba threw up. Come pick her up right now. Okay, I had to cancel. Then we made up to meet again. I'm waiting at Starbucks and I get a text from Michelle. My professor's keeping us overtime, going through exam, preparation. I'm so sorry. Okay, then she goes a semester abroad. She graduates. We didn't yet meet. We will meet. I'll keep you posted on what happens. But I don't need an ending to that story without being able to take a lesson from this story. It's just an email exchange. It's really nothing. A girl sends me a nasty email that she wants to be removed. I could respond. I promise you, I have it in me. I could have sent a snarky, obnoxious email back saying, you don't have to be so, where are you from, New York? Where are your manners? I don't know. I could have said whatever I wanted. And then I could have taken her off or not, or I could have spammed her every day. I could have done whatever. But I woke up in the mindset, which the Rebbe wants all of us to be in, as much of the time as we possibly can, which is, we are pieces of divine spark, each and every one of us, and if we act that way as much as possible, if we see that in others as much as possible, and if we don't let other people's external behavior, words, dress, aggressions, stop us from seeing what they really and who they really are inside, the world would be a transformed place, which is what we're meant to do, that we're supposed to turn what looks like a jungle into a garden. How do we do that? By seeing the neshama, the godliness, the spirituality in the earth, physicality, materialism. So when I started by saying that we tried to teach Mendel that we're not just trying to get to heaven, we want to make heaven and earth meet and kiss. It's not a theory, and we can do that when we train ourselves as best as we can, and we're going to stumble, and it's not going to always be pretty, to see our own neshama primarily first, before everything else about us, and to see every other person we come in contact with, they're a vital piece of planet Earth. Hashem put them here for a reason, and I'm going to try to see the positive, the gem, the diamond that's within them, because it is there. It's up to me to see it. And most importantly, what I want to leave you with is when you try to see it, you will find it. And when you respond to it, something totally different comes out. A stupid email exchange taught me that, because she responded totally differently when I treated her like a person who's a piece of God. Not a piece. Yeah, she's Jewish. I know, you're like, no, she can't. Yeah.
No.
How many years is this?
It's a while. Yeah, it's not even, this is not recent. So I'm leaving that with you to tell you that the things that the Rebbe and the Rebbitzin lived for and exemplified and taught us, they're not just theories for holy people out there. Every single one of us, very often I have students who, they do amazing things. They'll go volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, and during break And I always say to them, it's amazing to go out and do whatever, but are you getting along with your roommate? Are you getting along with your mother? Are you getting along with your sister? Because those are the people that it's most challenging. Those are the people we know so well, so they could be so irritating to us, and it starts at home. Start with our own families, see everybody as the gem and the diamond that they really are. The Rebbe and Rebbetzin exemplified that, and Chof Shvat is a beautiful time to remind ourselves we're all spiritual beings, and we get caught up and trapped and distracted by all the material, physical things. And by the way, it leads to stress and anxiety. It's been proven. And the more we could not focus on that, on the earthly and the material, and the more we could focus and tune in and appreciate and find in ourselves and in others the spiritual, the godly, the holy, the positive, the more centered and happy we're going to be. So l'chaim to each and every one of us in this room. I'm wishing all of us brachas. We should have inner peace and outer peace and health and wealth and nachas and success in all areas, over the top, with abundance, revealed, not the hidden kind that you have to dig for and you have to look for the positive. And blessing us, we shouldn't have to dig. We shouldn't have to look into the mud and the dirt. We should see everything that we need revealed and open before us in abundance. L'chaim, and if anyone is ever in Atlanta or is stopping over in Atlanta or wants to come to Atlanta, we have an open door. Literally, it's a tent. It's just a flap. We couldn't close it if we wanted to. And you're welcome to join us at Chabad at Emory anytime, any Friday nights. You'll be part of our family, and I don't know if that's 100, 150, however many students join us, you will be part of the mishpacha. Okay, thank you. I think I was supposed to ask if anyone has a question or a comment or an alternate speech or opinion or wants to throw rocks or whatever. No? Yeah? Okay. I said it, so if anyone has something they need to say to me, you can email me.